Alright, and we're back, and it's time to start the summer season in earnest now that we've gotten all of the movies and OVAs and stuff out of the way. We got, what, 45 shows, I think? I don't actually know when Monogatari is going to end. I saw something that said it was listed for 14 episodes, so maybe it's only one core. If it's not, I'll just swap it out as an end cap for probably like Dead Demons or Yozakura Family or something. We'll roll with that when we get there. I'm actually recording this like a week before the end of the month, so not everything is finished yet. But I kind of just want to get a jump on it. So let's go over to our random number generator. What'd I say? 45 shows. Let's see what our first lucky winner is. 29. What is 29? Mayonaka Punch. Okay, this had a lot of hype going into the season. It's a PA Works show that had a bunch of marketing push behind it, and I don't think it was super popular in the end. I think it's about YouTubers. So I'm thinking about getting mad already. Let's jump into it. Alright, well that was certainly a raucous way to kick everything off. I just finished up all of Mayonaka Punch. Man, that was a show. I'm gonna be honest, normally I just don't vibe with PA work. Actually, I'm gonna amend. In the past, I have not vibed with PA Works shows as often as I would have liked. Specifically, there's like a period of like 2015 to like 2020, maybe even a little later, where I was just like, something about this studio's not clicking with me. But in the past like couple years, they've been making stuff that's a lot more to my liking. With what was that? Akiba Maid Wars and ya boy Konmei, who the director of that is also the director of Mayonaka Punch, and so now I can add Mayopan to my growing list of PA Works shows that I actually like. So yeah, I really enjoyed this show in large part because it just really gets A, YouTube like content creation, and B, like the space of content creation. It's a lot more. I'm not going to say it's better at one or the other, but I think it is more impactful in exploring the space of content creation, like the parasocial relationship that fans have with creators, the way that creators react to criticism, the way that creators network with everyone. I felt this was such, at least in my experience, a almost painfully accurate way of describing this space. Like there was, I especially liked like the visuals of the negative comments swirling around Masaki's head, our main character, this canceled YouTuber who tries to start over in behind the scenes, and these the way that she visualizes these negative comments swirling around her head, even when they're like fairly like, even like when they're just mildly negative and they don't, like, they're not even criticisms that hold water in any way or make any sense, they still like affect her, which is something that I have dealt with a lot in my years of making content, where it's just sometimes you will just see a comment where you're like, that's fucking stupid. Why are you saying that? That's stupid. But also, it gets under your skin in for one reason or another, for it being whether it's like just being overly presumptive, or it accidentally hits on a thing that you were incredibly self-conscious about, or for whatever reason. And I just really like the way that this show goes out of its way to be like, hey, don't you're shitty for leaving comments like this, and it actually affects the content creators. Whether or not the content creators deserve it or not, it's kind of mean. At least on like a sort of like a parasocial level, I guess I'm trying to say. Speaking of which, I guess this is my one issue with the show. Not even issue, just like this weird thing about the show. Our main character, Masaki, her arc is very strange, and it doesn't necessarily resolve the... Sorry. I got so excited by the last few episodes of this that I'm now recording very late. But, like... So, she starts this story by getting kicked out of a group of creators that she was with for a while because she punched one of them in the face on a live stream. And you would think, like, the lesson from that is, like... And also, like, she spends a good portion of the show thinking, like, she's not wrong. She's, like, in the right, being very smug and, like, how highly she thinks of herself, and, like, said, I don't need them, they need me. So, and so you would think that the direction the show would go is to, like, humble her and to make her, like, sincerely repent for her actions. And she does do that latter part, at the very least, during this ending live stream. But it doesn't really change her behavior as much as it should, I don't think. I actually think this is a little more nuanced than I'm able to make it out to be. Because, like, I have been craving sort of, like, bad characters as of late, if that makes any sense. I have been craving characters that are just have some kind of moral failing of some sort. And just because it makes them, like, a little more human. And Masaki really fits that niche for me, just this very pompous YouTuber. And the reason I think it doesn't get too overbearing in any way is because she's also just... she actually becomes very loyal to this new group of friends that slash content creators that she ends up falling in with. And B, she is an immensely fucking hard worker. Like, she is a put your money where your mouth is kind of girl. Like, there is nothing hypocritical about her. I will say that. It's just that she's also a little bit of a narcissist in some ways, and I don't think she necessarily gets over that by the time this series ends. So that... And I don't think it necessarily needed to resolve that. It would have made the show better, in my opinion, but I don't think it's like a necessity to be like, and everything is wrapped up now and everyone is a good person. Like, I don't think that's a necessary ending, especially for a show like this, since it's a very kind of zany, snarky, sarcastic kind of show. I don't know, it just felt a little weird. Again, I kind of still like it in the end, and
Also, just while we're on the topic, I just really like Masaki's design for some reason. I think it's just they fucking nailed it. And also she just gets this like sometimes she just gets this like shit-eating grin on her face that's just so fucking perfect to look at and just so very her. And it just works. It just works. Mostly because she's also able to bounce off of these fucking weirdo vampire characters. Oh, did I mention that this show has vampires? Did I mention that the majority of the major cast in this show are vampires? That is something I did not know about this show going in. It's one of the reasons why I like not reading the descriptions or synopses for shows before I start them, because it makes me just... It gives me a little bit more of an organic look of like what I'm supposed to be... what I'm getting out of this show. And boy, these vampire characters were pretty fun for the most part. Liv, I think it's... They pronounce her name Liv, but I think it's supposed to be Liv, which I think it's supposed to be a play on live, like going live on YouTube, but they pronounce it Liv, so I'm just going to say Liv. Liv, who is voiced by Ai Faru, by the way, who you probably know best as Jolene from JoJo Part 6. I know her as, the main girl from the Dumbbells anime. Phenomenal fucking voice work. Just this insano, obsessive, over-the-top vampire who is just obsessed with wanting to drink Masaki's blood. When the first episode ended, I was like, ooh, we might get some like Yuri vibes from this. Maybe like some, if this goes in like a toxic Yuri direction, that might be pretty cool. No, none of that whatsoever. There's no romance in this show whatsoever. So, swing and a miss, unfortunately. But I don't think it necessarily needs it. I think it works much better as like a friendship through content creation kind of show. And the rest of the cast is really solid too. It kind of falls into the trap of just sort of filling out tropes. Sometimes you got the shy one, you got the lolly, you got the super strict one, you got the delinquentish one. But I think they all fill out those tropes pretty nicely without just existing as the trope. A lot of them get like really nice, like emotional backstories that really bring them to life as characters, and just the chemistry that they have is just really solid too. And I love that there's a moment where Masaki figures out that the thing that makes people really vibe with the channel and the content that they make is the chemistry of these characters, or of the different vampire crew that make these videos, which is kind of like it's kind of a no-duh moment, but when you get like editor brain and you want to, this is a trap I've fallen into constantly with editing, where you're just like, okay, I gotta cut it together, gotta move faster. You kind of just miss out on the vibes element. And so I thought that reveal was pretty good, and it makes a ton of sense. Like, I'm a big Rooster Teeth fan, and so one of the things that I liked the most about Rooster Teeth, like their live action content or their gaming content, is the chemistry that they have, just them shooting the shit and whatnot. Like, they had a whole segment called RT life, where it's just like they pick up the camera and go. And so, just now I'm just having flashbacks of like just these random RT life moments of like Carrie spying on Michael while he's filming a rage quit, or Ray kicking a box that had Barbara in it. As just these, it's just like the vibe moments of these people like interacting as content creators. So yes, that is very obviously something that would make their subscriber count go up. Now, that is probably the most fantastical part of this show, is that they go from like 50,000 to 700,000 subs in like 5 months. But I do think that they at least bolster that idea in ways that make sense, especially through the true friend we made along the way this entire time. The thing that actually makes you successful is networking. It's true in literally every fucking profession on the planet. YouTubing is no exception. So once they start like falling in like with the big sort of YouTuber circle, I keep saying YouTube, it's technically NewTube in this, but it's YouTube. Like, it's literally YouTube down to like the way that the upload page looks, and like the OP has like a countdown right at the beginning of it, and it's very obviously meant to mirror the countdown of like a premiere on YouTube. If you've ever watched like a premiere for a video, it'll have like this countdown on it. But yeah, it's YouTube. Right down to a YouTuber creators conference, essentially, hosted by I guess he's supposed to be Mr. Beast? Maybe? Or just like the general idea of a hype man YouTuber? God, I'm getting tired. It's too late for me to be filming this shit. Yeah, I just really appreciated so many of the different aspects of the show. I will say it took a little while to spin up and really get me invested, like, fully. Like, the first few episodes I was just like, okay, this is kind of okay. But when's it gonna get, like, real good? And it gets real good. Like, the back half of this show is, like, great. Is just really dang good. The last two episodes in particular are just, like, fucking foot on the gas, careening off a cliff levels of what the fuck is going on with this climax and where we're going. I don't want to spoil how it ends because it's a fucking incredible reveal. It very much in the vein of YouTube content that I should have seen coming. But it made everything else make so much sense. So, very fun show. Also, damn good looking show, too. Despite my previous complaints, the one thing I can always count on PA Works for is to look really fucking good. And, dang, this show looks really good. Incredible character designs. I already talked about Masaki a lot. The color design is just really damn good. It's extremely colorful and poppy, bright, and always manages to grab your attention. Except when it's trying to be, when it really like tones it down a little bit for the more dramatic moments, and it really like highlights these like darker tones and like the more intense lighting choices. There's not a lot. There's a lot of like very minor sakuga scattered throughout this show. There's not a lot of like big, extensively long, impacting shots, except some of the chase sequences in the final episode. But it is consistently a really dang good looking show. Yeah, it's just, it's just dang good. Sorry, I just got lost in thought because I remembered right as I was finishing this up. Sorry, I'm gonna get a little sad for a bit, but this was the this was select if you this was selected as the favorite anime of the season by Nick Dupree, who was the Anime News Network writer who passed away recently. For me, it was a couple days ago. For you guys, it's probably a few weeks ago now. I never... if you're new to the channel, I did work for ANN for a little bit. We never interacted. We were in different departments, but I always enjoyed following him on Twitter. Lost Thief was his handle. And just dang good writer. So Godspeed, sir. Really enjoyed this show. It was a good pick.
Alright. Mayonaka Punch is complete. And we're going to scroll up here. We're going to put it the number 15 spot right between these other two summer shows with a strong 7. Pretty darn good show. Might even bump it up a little bit later if it sits in my mind a little more. Really, really liked that. Okay, now back to our randoms. How many we have left? 37. Oh, right. I forgot to... what was it? Apparently, Tasuketsu is going to be 2 cores, so I took that out of the summer season and moved it down to the fall. So we're down to 37 shows now. So let's see what we roll next. It is 27. What is 27? The Elusive Samurai. Okay, another big one from the season. This is a Shonen Jump title that I read a few volumes of the manga. It's from the Assassination Classroom guy. Let's see if the anime adaptation bumps it up any more than it already was.
Well, I gotta say, that is an incredibly gorgeous looking show with a lot of effort put into it that I just can't find the will in me to care about. I got 3 episodes into the Elusive Samurai, and I just kinda don't like the story. So this is from the author of Assassination Classroom. And I mentioned in the intro that I had read a little bit of the manga. I read 3 volumes of the manga, I think, and I just did not like it. I did not enjoy the story, and I think I'm starting to pinpoint why I don't care for this particular story. There's just nothing well, no, I'm not going to say there's nothing wrong with it. There are some things wrong with it. Mainly in that, so again, it is relevant that this is from the Assassination Classroom guy because it is the same style of humor and style of writing, but the scenario is just vastly different. Whereas Assassination Classroom is this very relatively small scale absurdist comedy. It is absurd in the contrasting levels of insanity in it, I guess, where it's about a school and it's about a teacher teaching students like in the norm, as you would expect. But also the teacher is a giant tentacle monster who's going to blow up the earth. And that's where the absurdity comes in. Elusive Samurai is just a period piece, but the writing presents itself with the same absurdity as something like Assassination Classroom, where it's like we have this fucking freako shrine priest that's just constantly butts into the story in really annoying ways. I don't like this character at all. I know I'm not alone in that. I know that's not a unique opinion, but boy, he is just not fun to see on screen almost ever. I don't like him. And I just think in a lot of small ways that his writing style just doesn't work for a story that's not, whose premise is not insane. Because this is just like a plain old, I would have much preferred a completely different writing style, I guess, because I just don't find myself engaging with I see the story beats and I'm like, wow, this would be really cool if it wasn't being absurd trying to be absurd to the most insane degree, like this. And like the villain characters are all completely over the top and like comically evil to like childish degrees. Like the uncle character is just fucking silly, and I don't find it funny, I just find it abrasive. So I just don't think the writing style matches the setting and the story that's being told, which is a shame because, as I mentioned, oh boy, there's a lot of effort being put into this production. This is easily like a top 5 production for the entire year so far. There is so much impressive animation and artwork and cinematography and like just creative visual ideas on display, a lot of which weren't in the manga. Like there were a lot of the visual ideas are just anime original visuals that look really fucking cool. And like the soundtrack is actually pretty decent. If I recall correctly, it's from the guy who composed the soundtrack for Uter Camp, which is another soundtrack that I really love. Like the acting's really good for the most part. Everything except the actual writing I really like about this show. But man, I just cannot be bothered to care. Like the retainer characters, they feel fun on the surface, but also like there's nothing underneath them to support it. They feel kind of hollow. And they just sort of feel like they're there to fill out the roster. And again, I haven't watched that much of the show, but I have read the manga for 3 volumes, so I know they don't get a ton of development in the near future. If I was an annoying person on Twitter, I would say that this is a show carried by its animation. Hello, honking cars. Anyway, yeah, this is. I guess I wasn't expecting to like it, since I already knew I did like the manga. But you know what? I always hope for that stronger adaptation. I think I have. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are shows in the past where I did like the anime more than the manga. This just wasn't one of those times.
Okay, Elusive Samurai coming off the list. Now let's bump down the random number generator and roll again. What am I at now? Let's see. 36. So let's see what we roll next. 27. Plus-sized elf. Okay, I have been hearing about this manga for fucking ever. And now it's finally gotten an anime adaptation. Let's see how it do. Damn, there is nothing more frustrating than watching a fetish show that is very clearly catering to a fetish that you just have no interest in. First episode of Plus Sized Elf was pretty much exactly what I was expecting, although was not expecting titties. I was not expecting titties, and there were a lot of titties actually. So they're not bad titties. They're not great titties, but they're not like terrible. This is the kind of content you came to this channel for, I hope you know. Yeah. Also, I wasn't expecting them to be half-length episodes, so that made getting through a whole episode a lot easier. The joke is the elf likes food, and so the elf got fat. That's it. That's the joke. It's you can predict literally everything about this episode. It's just kinda boring. So unless you're into BBW, I don't really see anything for you here. And if you are, I'm pretty sure you've watched this show already. So what do you need me for? Alright, plus-sized elf off the list. Let's roll again. See what we get next. It's gonna be 19. What is 19? The rookie middle-aged adventurer ... I'm gonna guess this is some kind of isekai. Or it could just be a regular fantasy series with video game mechanics. Let's find out which one. Okay, I guess that fulfills my junk food anime quota for the season. For some reason, I just watched... What's the full title for this show? It's another one of those really long titles. What's the official translation? God damn it, Crunchyroll. The Ossan Newbie adventurer, trained to death by the most powerful party, became invincible. So it's not an isekai. It's just a... And it doesn't even use video game mechanics, actually. It's just like a... It's like a modern-ish fantasy kind of series. Very... It's like a modern fantasy without the video game mechanics. So very kind of D&D-ish. It's... I don't know why I finished this other than it hit the particular neurons in my brain that make me go like monkey mode. For one thing, the dark elf lady with the maid outfit and the big titties, awesome. She did exactly what she needed to do in this role. I wish they had a little bit more of her, but she's nice. They got the fucking Twin Tails Ojo-sama who actually wants to be a fighter. And you know what? The humor's not bad. It takes a little bit to wind itself up, to warm up, because like it starts with this dude is old. He is past his prime. He's an old man. He's 32. And as a 31-year-old myself, god damn it. Now, not that
this is new for anime. Anyone over the age of 21 in anime has always been treated like they're fucking 1 foot in the grave. But you know what? The goalpost is moving. See, no, it used to be like in like the fucking 90s and 2000s. If you were in your 20s, you were a fucking old man. Now it's your 30s. So, making progress. And like it was going through like the very standard tropes of like, oh, this guy's actually like super powerful, but like the system can't register that he's like super powerful because of just the way the tests are set up. He's lacking in these specific areas, and I was just sitting there going, okay, yeah, we've seen this a fucking 1,000 times before. And then we got to the slime bag punching test, which that is a cool bit of world. This show does have like some kind of fun, very tiny bits of world building here and there. Like they made a punching bag out of slimes. I think that's just a cool idea. And I also kind of like the magic system in this, or at least like the power system. Like it's a 4-pronged system where it's like you have your physical strength, your magical reserves, like how much mana you actually have, and then you have like your physical control and your magic control. And that's a really interesting system, I think, to work with. I don't know if it would work in any story other than this particular one, because it's about a guy who has no magic, basically no magic reserves whatsoever, so he has trained himself to the utmost in the other 3 categories to be this fucking S-rank dude who's decided to quit his job as a receptionist to become an adventurer and train himself to death. But you know what? The humor's good. Like, it's got some decent reaction shots here and there. It, again, in a very junk food, like, you know what's going to happen kind of way, but it's still it gets the reaction faces right, which is very important for anime comedy, in my opinion. You get the good. If you get the good faces, you're gonna have a good time. But yeah, like they bring out this like slime bag thing, and he just punches it through the wall. I think the reveal there was pretty good, even though it was very obviously predictable. This is the comedy kind of writes itself. This is one of those shows where it's like, it's just one of those shows where it's like this giant group of like basically gods on Earth that are just having to interact with like normal people, and the normal people just reacting to the fact that they are so immensely powerful. But also, it's just when it's like not being funny, it can be very tedious. Like this show had the nerve to have so many goddamn flashbacks. I think it's like it's either episode 3 or episode 4 we get a flashback to our main character. By the way, the main character's name is Rick Gladiator, which, god damn it. So, like, I think it's like episode 4, there's like a flashback to him meeting the party that trained him, and it's just and like him discovering that he wants to be an adventurer, even though he spent like, I think it's like 14 years as a receptionist. And it's like so straightforward and standard and boring. It's like, this show reminds me a lot of A Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, where it's really good at its gimmick, but then when it tries to actually do like real, like the more when it tries to do the storytelling elements that it thinks it needs to include in order to fulfill certain checkboxes on your storytelling quota or whatever, it's really not good at those. I don't think it. Well, yeah, I think it is as bad as the flashback in Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, which I did not like at all. You can go back to, what was that, the spring season? Yeah, somewhere in the spring season I talked about that, I think. Or was it the winter season? I don't remember. Somewhere in there. It's in there. And then, like, there's, like, 2 other flashbacks in this show. They have this totally not Ashita no Joe character who, like, he's a boxer and his trainer has an eye patch. Yeah, totally not Ashita no Joe, guys. And it's just the most bland, straightforward interpretation of that archetype you could possibly have. And then the last episode has a flashback in it. And like the penultimate episode leading into it, the character literally said, like almost literally, he's like, now seems like a good time to talk about the past. And I'm like, no, the fuck it is not. Get back to the fight. Get back to the big titty dark elf. And it's like, I don't hate the characters. I think they have good chemistry together. I don't dislike the story that's set up, but they spend so goddamn long on these flashbacks that don't fucking matter. Like, it doesn't matter. It does not add anything to the story because you could pretty much assume all of those backstories based on how these characters interact with each other. They don't add any new information except for the fact that Broston, the orc guy who trained Rick, met a guy who was part of the Legendary Heroes party, and he basically comes off as like half Goldie Roger and half red-haired Shanks. And that's basically like his visual combination too, which now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, oh, he was part of this world's equivalent of the Rocks Pirates. So yeah. Okay, sure. Why not just rip off One Piece while you're at it? Whatever. But you know what? I did make it all the way through this show, but only because it hit the specific, I'm a monkey, I like the banana, but the banana is specific character designs and a certain brand of humor that I think the show does pretty decently. And you know what? I think a lot of it is very earnest as well. I think that has a lot to do with it. It is not drowning in It has some level of like, isn't this quirky? Haha. But it's not like drowning in it. There is a decent amount of sincerity to the stuff that's going on. So I think that made it. So I think that actually made the humor work pretty well. But can't necessarily say I'm giving this one a high recommendation because also this show doesn't look good. This is a very, very average looking show, perhaps like just slightly below average. Lots of compositing issues. The character designs are super basic and again this is a very fast food anime kind of thing. They got the big titty dark elf as perfect as they could with the talent that they're working with and the schedule they're working with. The fight scenes aren't particularly impressive, and the only thing that makes them really have any like oomph to them is like the over-compressed sound design. Like there's a little bit of hype built into it, but not all that much. And also the voice acting can get a bit sketchy too. Like this lolly vampire character is the most I am doing a lolly character voice ever. It's not good. Also, this show has the distinct honor of being one of the very few anime where I actively skip the opening. It's not good. It's supposed to be funny sounding, but I just don't think it's good. So, yeah. If this show had not dragged itself to the fucking finish line at the very end, I might have given this like a more positive score, but in the end, this is just like slightly below average. I'm really not sure how I made it all the way through, but I guess I did.
Okay. Ossan, Rookie Adventurer is complete. Unexpected, but not totally unwelcome. We're going to put it fairly low on the list in the number 38 spot with a light 5. Is junk food. Maybe probably not going to come across much more like this, hopefully. In any case, what are we down to now? 34 randoms. If I come across another big one, I'll do one. That'll be the last one before we jump to our end caps. But if not, we'll do 2 more. So let's see what we get. 30. It is going to be 5. Failure Frame. No clue at all what this is. I heard the title so much this season, but I have not heard anyone talking about it really. So, let's figure it out what it is.
You know, normally I give the bad shows at least like a little bit of runway before I toss them in the trash bin, but god damn it. You couldn't resist just putting all of the worst shit, front loading all of it. I got precisely 1 minute and 19 seconds into Failure Frame, something subtitle about becoming the strongest. Garbage. Absolute fucking trash. No. So, frame 1, I knew this show was going to be bad because it has the exact color palette of all these fucking terrible, edgy anime that are bad. This fucking... The saturation is in the wrong range, and it's just dark and oppressive, but not in like a cool way, because it's all flat looking, monotone, and there's not a lot of there's no good like cinematography going on. It's just shot very straight and normally. And we cut to no, stepdad, no, beating the shit out of his kid while his mom just sits on the couch drinking beer. And stepdad is just laughing the entire time that he's doing it. So that's the kind of edgy that we're dealing with for this show. By that point, I had already clocked out because I knew I was not going to take this show seriously at all. But then it cut to present day, and they're on like a coach bus going somewhere for a field trip probably. And it does the thing where it gives all of the characters like nameplate, like title cards and stuff. Like it just overlays their names onto them when they're talking, as if they're going to fucking matter at all. Because I guarantee you they're not. I got probably halfway through, I'm estimating, all of the nameplates, while this bully is making fun of a girl for reading romance novels? What? Is that what people get bullied for? What do in high school? Because these people very clearly look like they're in high school. I will buy late middle school, but I will not buy anything younger than that. But it's very clearly supposed to be high school. But this guy is bullying a girl for reading romance novels, I think, or maybe she's writing romance novels or poetry or fucking some. I don't fucking know. It's fucking stupid. All of these designs are super generic. I don't care. I'm very angry now that I wasted 1 minute and 19 seconds of my life on this show. This is bad.
Goddamn, I hate try-hard, edgy anime so much. Failure Frame. Off the list. Let's roll one more before we get to our end cap. This one's gonna be 10. Oh, Wistoria, Wand and Sword. This was another really hyped up show from this season. Sure, let's do some more fantasy stuff.
Alright, more good shit. I just finished up all of Wistoria, Wand and Sword. I guess the magic school genre still has some juice left in it, still a little gas left. I'll be honest, I wore a Naruto shirt for this one because I was expecting some Harry Potter vibes, and there are some. If you don't know the early origins of Naruto, it is very Harry Potter inspired. But in actuality, I should have worn a My Hero shirt because this is way more inspired by My Hero than it is by Harry Potter. Affectionately, not derogatory. This is I appreciate the similarities, even though there are so many similarities. It is shocking how much like My Hero this show is. Like, we got the... Now, I'm loosely pulling from this, but we've got this uber angry rival character that just shouts at the main character all the time. Sion has very strong Bakugo vibes. We've got our MC who can't use magic. He's quirkless. The final arc of this first season has them going on a training mission where villains unexpectedly show up, one of whom doesn't have a head and just has this shadowy mass spurting out of his neck hole. So, Kurogiri. And then, just to top it off, in episode 11, I was like the big fight in episode 11, I was listening to the music and I was like, this sounds like You Say Run. I wonder who the composer is. Wouldn't you know it? It's Yuki Hayashi. This is and even like the main character has like very, not very, but a little Deku-ish kind of hair. He's also like a nerd-ish when he's like uber study heavy, which gives him a big advantage in battle over everyone else who just mostly relies on their power. So yes, very, very, very My Hero coded, but it is also distinct enough to be its own entity. I was a little skeptical of the world building at first because at first it came off as like a pastiche of just like every other fantasy magic world that we've seen before. There's some Harry Potter, there's some Lord of the Rings, there's just all of the stuff. But it starts to recombine things in interesting ways that I felt were a lot more appropriate for the story that this one is telling. Like, I like the narrative, the aspect of dwarves as like a refugee race. Like, this world, like, it's like something celestial hosts are the bad guys, whatever, and they blew up a bunch of stuff, and apparently they destroyed the dwarves' homeworld, and so the dwarves had to immigrate to they're not called humans in this, the Rhianninth? I don't know how to pronounce. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's, I'm just going to call them humans, but they had to immigrate to the human world, and now they are a underclass that the white-coated races are looked down upon. Like, there's a big hubbub about it in episode 4, where it's like, oh, we're doing the anime racism, we're doing the fantasy racism, and so, but the way that they made it, the way that they had it play out, made it play out like an immigrant narrative to a certain degree, which made it a lot more topical, relevant to more modern circumstances than like a Tolkien style racism with that kind of dwarven elf dynamic. It's not that. It's a little bit more modern, which the way that it ties into our main character Will's character, with him being this put upon MC who's just constantly shit on by the strong, more powerful magic users around him. I liked the way that they tied them together, even though sometimes it came across a little bit like, you all right, white boy. Sometimes it came across like that. Not all the time, but leaned a little bit into that sometimes. But you know what? He's very genuine about his admiration for the dwarves, so I think in the end it comes across really well. But speaking of Will, our Deku insert for this one, very standard for the role. He's more like Asta than Deku, really, from Asta from Black Clover, and can't use magic, so he just brute forces his way through everything. So yeah, there's a lot of magic pastiche coming into this. This show really is like a good. If you have been paying attention to the media scene of the past 10, 15 years, especially in anime, this Wistoria is like a really interesting melting pot of everything, with this Asta-like main character, which is also very funny because the director of this series, with Tatsuya Yoshihara, was also the director of the Black Clover anime. So that's very funny. We'll get into production stuff later, but I like Will. He's very... At first, his intro is like very standard, like nerd who is not good at magic gets bullied by everyone, but then everyone finds out that he's like a super badass sword user, and so that begins his ascendance in amongst the ranks of the school. So he's not particularly complex in any way. Like, there's not a lot aside from the relating to the underprivileged races kind of stuff. I do like that aspect of him, but aside from that, he's a very straightforward character, and I like this concept of it's not a new concept, but it's the concept of like, this dude is going to completely upend this magical society by being better than all of them just through using a sword. So very like, I like this. I like stories about like cultural upheaval through power systems. Very fun concept to work with, and we're starting to see the beginnings of that with this show. Like, the first few episodes almost come across in a very like fascistic kind of, magic is might. If you are not magic prone, if you are not good at magic, you are nothing. You are worthless. You are scum. With this very Professor Snape looking motherfucker. So there is a little bit of Harry Potter in it. Very Professor Snape coded professor. Actually, the design comes across a lot more like if Waver from Fate Zero was like a bad guy, like if he came across as like if he was more of a who's the teacher in that, was it Archibald? That if Waver's design was given Archibald's personality, he's kind of like that. Again, we're bringing in Fate now. There is so much This is such a big melting pot of magic system ideas that it's very fun to see how everything snaps together. And everything does blend together surprisingly well. It's not like these are disparate elements. It's just that I have seen so many things that I'm able to point them out and be like, okay, that comes from this, that comes from that, I like shows that wear their influences on their sleeves like this, and they are still able to blend everything together really well. It doesn't feel like anything comes out of nowhere in this, except for one point. And this isn't really like a trope or anything that comes out. It's just like a plot point that comes out of nowhere. It's like the very last episode where it's like, where it's sort of like we get the title drop, wand and sword, and like they do kind of hand wave it away by the Will being like, yeah, I don't know how I fucking did that either. Where he combines his sword play with Sion's fire magic. So that'll be for season 2, I guess, which has already been confirmed, which is fun. I'm all in on a season 2. Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place with this one, but there is a surprising amount of like granular detail to talk about with this one. Like I do like some of the like smaller concept, like the elves do not let the lower races touch them unless they deem them worthy, in a very elven racism kind of way. And so it's obviously like that sets up the plot point of like, okay, so at some point he's going to deem Will worthy of touching him. And he does. Very fun play there. Now, I will say, for as interesting as it is to see all of these different concepts coming together to form this world, I don't think it's not until like late in the series that I think, or late in this first season, that this magic world specifically becomes very appealing. Like in the early episodes, I was kind of just like, well, this is just sort of, it's not clicking quite yet. But it's not really until Will really starts to upend a lot of the norms of this society that those norms become interesting for the plot to interact with, I guess I should say. Also, in the last arc is like a dungeon crawling bit, so we got some fun little dungeon world building stuff. I do like the very like immediate jobbing aspects that come up. Not jobbing, but just massive power scaling differences where they finally introduce the light what's it called, the I can't pronounce fucking magic shows and these goddamn Latin root fucking bullshit names. I'm pretty sure it's Latin. I don't know. But yeah, I cannot pronounce a goddamn thing in this show. the best of the best of the best, sir. Was that Men in Black that I just quoted? I don't know. I know that's a Will Smith quote. But anyway, I'm losing it. It's early in the... This is an early morning recording for me. So, but when the light wizard shows up and it's sort of like, yeah, we just came back from... Like, we're talking, like, the first half of the show, it's like the farthest down they go is like level 6 or level 4 or something. And then like the second half of the show, they get down to level 10. And then they accidentally break into level 11. And it's sort of like, oh god, everything here is going to kill us. We need to get the fuck out of here. And then old Light Wizard comes back. It's like, yeah, we just came back from level 49. And I like it's hinting at some other societal aspects dwelling within this dungeon that are probably going to come up in season 2. I think that's what is making the world building finally click for me, is the way it melds. It is melding the traditional magic school setting with the dungeon crawler setting. It is melding those two things, and we finally get a lot more crossover of those things in the second half of the show. So I appreciated that. I should also, before we move on, I should also mention I like the cast a lot. There aren't any characters that I particularly dislike. There's not a lot of them stand out per se, but they are all very fun. I love Sion as this totally not Bakugo rival character who just wants to fucking beat the shit out of Will constantly, because he would not acknowledge. Again, the backstory for Will and Sion is so incredibly Deku Bakugo coded. It is so obvious, but as a huge My Hero fan, I don't mind. I'm totally fine with it. There's a reason that I like that dynamic. Now I will say another thing that I was concerned about is that Will is basically pining after his orphanage sibling Elfie, who is like super genius girl who is immediately ascended the tower and became like one of the highest ranked mages there, and like that's his motivation for trying to be like a mage despite not having any magical power. I was concerned that she was going to just be like this vague trophy girlfriend, trophy waifu kind of character. And even though she doesn't show up a lot in this show, some of her appearances do give her more characterization than I was expecting. Like the way she gets embarrassed at Will sort of revealing her past with him, I thought was very fun. Originally, like, it was set up so that it made it look like this was some kind of romantic relationship that was going to be pursued, but I'm not entirely sure of that anymore. They throw the word love around, but I'm not sure if that's what they mean, or if it's like a sibling kind of love. I still think it's definitely possible that it's supposed to be like a romantic kind of love, but we'll see where it goes, I guess. If it's a romantic kind of love, then sucks to be Colette, I guess, this very obvious orbiter of Will, who is just constantly pining after him and is getting flustered every time he does something that makes her happy. She's cute, but she's also very, very tropey. Totally forgot about the gay roommate. Roasty, who apparently has some like mystery surrounding him as well, because he shows up in the dungeon to, I think, he's the one who gives Will the idea to do the wand and sword thing. I don't quite, I didn't quite understand that scene, but yeah, we got the gay roommate who is just as catty about fighting over Will as Colette is. So equal opportunity love interest. I like that they did not make a big fucking deal about it at all. Like, it's just like, oh, he's gay. Like, I like the suspicion of Colette's like, wait a second, you're going after the same dick I am. And like, it's they don't make a big deal like, but you're two boys. It's not that at all. It's basically Colette immediately clocks like, wait, you like him? But I like him. Oh, you're my rival now. Fuck you. Like the same way she would do if it was like another girl or something. So, good on the show for just very normal gay representation. All about it. Yeah, I could ramble about like just all the different stuff in this show for a while, because there are just a lot of ideas. See, this is one of the kind of anime that I like, where it's just like so many fucking ideas jammed into a single space, and they all mesh pretty well together. On top of the show looking really damn good, this is a fucking great looking production. With occasional, I feel like episode 4, I think, was like, if I recall, was sort of like a down episode where it was just like, ooh, they're saving up here. But aside from that, fucking incredible action scenes. Color design is super good. I love the character designs. I love when they do like when the pupils are like diamond shaped. I love when anime does that. That shows up sometimes. Some of the shots, just the way the camera frames everything looks really fucking cool. I will say, at least in the beginning, in the first couple episodes, it does have a bit of a... This is going to sound really fucking pretentious when I say that. It is over-animated sometimes. Like, specifically the character acting. Like, sometimes the characters will just move too much, and it just makes it look kind of silly. There are ways to do character acting where acting flourishes where it looks natural and stuff, but I think occasionally Wistoria just goes a little overboard with it. But other than that, damn good looking production. I feel like I've seen other... Yeah, if I recall, Yoshihara did... I'm not super familiar with his work outside of Muromi-san, if anyone remembers that show from like 2012, 2013. Maybe it was earlier than that. That's around the time that I watched it. But which I actually kind of want to go back and watch that now, because I remember it looking pretty good. It's like a mermaid comedy anime. But yeah, this is a fucking damn good looking show. Yeah, I'm just spinning my wheels at this point. I've talked for so fucking long about this. Because there is just a lot... There is a surprising amount of stuff here. And I am also very surprised at how well it blends together. It takes a little bit for the really good stuff to get going, but like it doesn't start bad or anything. It just starts very bland, I guess the word is not. That's a bit too. I don't like the connotation of that one. It starts off very plain, and the animation is certainly the draw in the beginning, but as it goes on, it picks up more interesting world building stuff, and the character chemistry gets more engaging. Good show. Very, very happy that I watched this one.
I also completely forgot to mention that this anime has a mascot character named Kiki, this little cat familiar thing, and it's very cool. More anime should bring back mascot characters. It is a forgotten art that we need to resurrect. Anyway, Wistoria, Wand and Sword is complete. And where did I decide I was going to put? I'm going to put this in the number 11 spot for the year with a light 8. That's good stuff. Looking forward to season 2. Alright. Now it's time for our first end cap of the season. ReSlime, Season 3. I know Studio 8-Bit has been overloaded with productions this season, and the last season of ReSlime was barely moving at all. So let's see if they manage to pull it out with another 2-core entry. Let's dive in.
Well, this is unexpected. I didn't make it all the way through this season. I got halfway through the season 3 of ReSlime, and fuck, this show's gotten boring. What the fuck happened? I can tell you what happened is Ryoma Abada's not working on the fucking show anymore, so it's just boring looking now. In terms of like what is on screen, like cinematically, it is fucking boring. This show has turned into Boardrooms the anime. Like, I actually came up with a real clever title. If I ever make a video on this, I'm gonna call it the boardroomification of ReSlime. Because this show used to be very fun and exciting. I did a video on it and Tanya the Evil way back. If you want to go watch that on the main channel. And it was like, a lot of the appeal was in how very like bouncy and hyperactive a lot of the anime was. And as the seasons have gone on, it's gotten like less like fun looking. It's devolved into so many just still shots and panning shots and reverse shot of things happening, and just like literal just people sitting at a table talking about stuff. And season 3 is the worst example of it by far. It is just like just whole episodes of just people sitting in a boardroom, well, the fantasy equivalent of a boardroom, talking about urban planning. There are ways to make urban planning fun and interesting and engaging. Like, actually, you could go back and watch my video for Anime News Network where I talk about Log Horizon, because it's pretty much the exact same thing that's happened. There used to be more like visual presentation. They used to break up the information more with like actual plot or like gags or character stuff. There used to be like better visual there used to be like actual like sort of visual props almost to show things that are happening. And as the seasons of Log Horizon went on, they like less and less of that happened, and also the animation started getting worse because Studio Dean. But this is all at 8-bit. Slime is all at 8-bit, but it's doing the same thing that Log Horizon did, where it's just not breaking up the information, so my eyes just fucking glaze over, and it's like I feel my brain going numb and just all of the information going in one ear and out the other because it's not being delivered A, at a good pace, B, in an interesting way, and C, in small enough chunks for it to be digestible. I can't listen to 5 minutes straight of people talking about urban planning and how they're laying out the roads for this city without injecting something in the middle of it. Because it's going to... This isn't a fucking podcast. This is a fantasy anime about an all-powerful demon lord slime. Where your head at? Where's your head at? Your perception of what this show is. The people who make this show has just shifted drastically, or just I can't confirm this, but I think a lot of the people who used to work on this show just aren't anymore. I know Ryoma Ibata's only done the character designs for this season. He used to be the animation director, and that made the first season really fucking good looking. But now he's like, as far as I can tell from the My Anime List staff list, he's only listed as the character designer. I can imagine I can imagine 8-bit is being stretched really thin right now because Bandai Namco is hitting the print anime button as soon as they bought the fucking studio. Like, they did this, they did the latest season of Mahoka, they did the latest season of Eurocamp, they're doing the next season of Blue Lock that's about to come out, and people were already complaining about how that trailer looked like fucking ass. I think 8-bit is just starting to collapse in on itself because it's doing way too fucking much. I don't think this studio can handle it. It's a shame. Because in theory, I like the things that are happening. I liked the plot bits that are happening. Well, up to a point, because the 7-Day Sages or whatever were fucking shitty villains. This cackling, maniacal, almost Precure level villains. Actually, no, Precure villains are better than these guys, because Precure villains at least have some level of characterization to them. These guys are just cackling, evil Saturday morning cartoon villains. And they suck. But I like Hinata as the sort of antagonist of this first core. Not a villain, but an antagonist. I wanted to see that relationship between her and Rimuru develop as sort of rivals and whatever. But, man, I just can't be bothered to care about anything anymore because it's just shitting information directly out of its mouth non-stop. And, like, the fights were okay. The fights were good. But, like, so fucking brief. Like, I think the fights didn't happen until, like, episode 10, I think? 9 or 10? The first 8 episodes were so fucking dry. I was falling asleep watching this stuff because it is so dense and boring. That is what ReSlime has become now. It has become dense and boring. I don't know who these new villains are interacting in the background. There's like 3 different villain groups now in the background of everything, or maybe they're all just one group. I don't actually know because I am having trouble processing all of the information it's shotgunning at me. Like there were 2 characters that I was very confused about because I legit thought they were the same character for a good 20 minutes until I realized, oh, one has a ponytail and the other one doesn't.
because I just couldn't remember that information until I saw them back to back in different scenes. Man, this sucks. I really used to like ReSlime. It's been one of my favorite isekai anime. And Rimuru is still a really fun protagonist, but they're not giving him interesting stuff to do, or at the very least, they're not presenting the interesting stuff in interesting ways. It's just fucking boring. Alright. Unfortunately, ReSlime is coming off the list. That is a bummer.